what Jesus does a lot of times is use common sense. So you can see that the sun is rising over here and you can feel that breeze. When you do that, you know that a storm is coming, but you can't look around and see what's happening. Jesus almost always appeals to common sense, to something that he knows is intrinsic in the people he's talking to, that he's beginning to draw out. What do the scriptures say? How do you read them? And what that says is, number one, he's a rabbi. So people dissected the text. They conversated about the text. They had arguments. The text was not authoritative in a way like Jesus says a Gentile would have made it authoritative, in the sense that you lord it over, right? The text was authoritative in that we use it as fodder for conversation and growth and change and becoming more who we're supposed to be, more hospitable in the earth, more like what Israel was called to be in the earth: hospitable, gracious, kind, to make space, to create that invitation, to facilitate invitation with God. And so when I think about people saying, well, you can't make the Bible say that there's no hell, Jesus talks about hell. Yeah, Jesus talks about Gehenna, which was an actual trash heap. It was a place. So again, what hell comes from, or our conceptions of hell, come really from Dante's Inferno. They don't come from Jesus. So there's a lot of times where there are these tropes and these things that people are just stuck believing because they've never been given the option to think differently, because they think thinking differently will make them less faithful, or they think thinking differently will make God angry. And to me, it's kind of like, I love when my daughter has ideas. I love how creative she can be. And when it comes to safety, then I step in, right? But I can't say that I care about her safety up until the point she crosses me and there's no return, and then I torment her for that. Like, that would mean I'm not a trustworthy parent. And so I'm out here trying to say, y'all, like, we can let the sandcastles crumble. We have to believe in a God and a Jesus who is able to meet us no matter where we are. And again, scripture gives us that implication. Where could I go if I made my bed in the depths? So again, these are things that I think wisdom says to us, that our faith is inherently progressive. It talks about terms like going from glory to glory, going from strength to strength. That is inherently progressive language. So I think where we are right now is a good place. And I think stretch the thing. And if the thing collapses, it's an old wineskin. But I don't think that we have to give up what we love about Jesus, what we appreciated about the life of Jesus, the ways that the stories about Jesus helped us identify parts of ourselves we wanted to change or grow in or be like. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think you have to let that go just because you're letting go of toxic systems of belief that are doing more harm than good. So then they said, well, you just because you believe it doesn't make it true. And I'm okay with that. I think that's true for all of us. Just because we believe something doesn't make it true. So then what do? I think that's a good question. And that is the realm of faith. That is the realm of community. That is the realm of diversity. That is the realm of humility. What do? If we can't know for sure what we believe is true, then what do? I think we have these conversations. I think we get honest with ourselves. I think we begin to think about God, at least in terms of being a better parent than we are. And if I would not do something to my kid, there is no way on earth I would worship a God that would do that to me. It just doesn't make sense. And people say, well, it's not your way. It's God's ways. You don't get to dictate to God. But how do you know that? Like, how do you know that? Right? Everyone is operating off of some sort of assumption, and they're using their own things to kind of corroborate what they believe is true. So what I'm going to believe is true, I'm going to corroborate from here on out in my body, in my common sense, and what I could imagine doing to the least of these. That is going to dictate how I read and do the text of scripture from here on out. And it's okay if people don't believe that. And it's okay if people think Tamisa's jumped ship, she's fallen off the deep end. That's okay. We all have to live with the God we worship. And I don't want to worship a God that would torture people. I just don't. And so if I go to hell and I'm tortured for that, I'm like literally willing to stand before the Jesus I see in the Gospels and say, there was no way I was going to do that based on what I see about you. And so let the chips fall where they may. And in the meantime, I'm going to implement what I see Jesus calling people to do in the Gospels. And then we'll see what happens when I die. These are my thoughts. I'm sure there'll be more DMs. And as they come, like I said, the ones that come often, I'm going to address them on here. So have a good day, y'all.